Welcome to the Chantay Golson Show, where every entrepreneur and C-level and above executive stop by to take a listen at tools, strategies necessary to help them to overcome burnout. I am Chantay Golson, LPC, your host, and my job is to help entrepreneurs and C-level and above executives to overcome burnout by supporting them through the process. If you want to learn more about my services, go to Coach Chantay, CHANTAY.com/burnout. Please make sure you like and subscribe this channel if you like any information that is beneficial or could be beneficial for someone you know. We have a special guest today, and our particular guest is going to share some information about communication with us. And so her company is Kane Intentional Communication Institute, and her name is Cynthia Kane. And for her particular introduction, I want to share a little bit about how she has founded and also is the CEO of Kane International Communication Institute, where she works with high achieving individuals to experience more calm so that they can show up authentically in their most important relationships. And now she's a certified meditation and mindfulness instructor, as well as a best-selling author, How to Communicate Like a Buddhist. So talk to yourself like a Buddhist, and also how to meditate like a Buddhist. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. I'm excited to be here with you.
All right. Well, we first like to open up with a question. What does burnout mean to you?
Burnout to me means complete exhaustion, and mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It is really when we are doing too much, thinking too much, in interactions that really our energy just kind of leaks out, that we no longer have anything left to care for ourselves, and everything seems really difficult, right? Life just seems much more of a struggle. And it's really, in my mind, I think of it as confusion, right? Because with burnout, there's no path to seeing clearly. So oftentimes what happens is you don't know how to move yourself out of it. And so you just continue to sit in it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you or anyone you know have ever had experiences with burnout on any level?
Yes.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Would that be you or someone else?
So I've definitely experienced burnout in the sense of pushing too hard, working too hard, doing too many things for others, and not really giving myself the space and the care that I needed to be able to show up in the way that I really wanted to show up in my relationships. So I have definitely experienced that, like that exhaustion and that emptiness. And then I have a lot of people in my life who have gone through it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very common. It's something that growing up, I mean, at least for me and many that I know, it's kind of like instilled in you to just go, do, work, right? And so I think that it's more within our culture to really kind of give accolade for the busy.
Okay. And so when you go back over your experience of burnout, share with us two facts. Number one, how long did you go through burnout? Number two, what were your signs and your symptoms when you realized you were in burnout?
So for me, I mean, it lasted, how long did it last? Maybe a few months. I feel I experienced burnout really right after I had my first child, doing a lot of like motherhood and business, right? And so I was just completely depleted. And so I would say that lasted for maybe, 6, 7, 8 months until what I started to notice was that I couldn't continue in the same way, right? If I were to continue in the same way, I would be very unhappy. I would be very passive aggressive. I would be lashing out to those people that I love. I wouldn't be able to be present in my day to day or enjoy my day to day. And so for me, kind of the symptoms were really just the way that I was talking to myself was making it so that I was feeling stuck, right? And like trapped. So that was one way that I realized that I was pretty much burnt out. The other, for me, just body, right? Like my body itself had no energy. It was just, there was no fuel, right? And it didn't seem to matter what I ate. It just didn't, like there was nothing vibrating through. So that was another sign, I guess. And then the other for me was just what others were saying, right? And that I just seemed off and I felt completely out of alignment with who I know that I am, right?
So it showed up externally and other people started commenting on who you were becoming. Yeah, I can understand that.
The burnout piece for me really manifests in how I relate to others, right? So if I am completely burnt out, the way that I'm interacting with people shows that. So I'm much shorter in my conversations. I'm way more impatient, right? I have no time for other people because I just want to get things done, or I want things to be the way that I want them to be. So I interrupt more, right? So yeah, it shows up for me on the outside.
Yeah, so short fuse. And I imagine frustrated as well as irritable as well.
Yeah, extremely irritable.
Yeah, so this talk that you made mention of that you were giving to yourself, I would imagine it's also negative. Did you have racing thoughts?
Yeah, racing thoughts, constant thoughts, up, like the worry type of thoughts. And also not only the worry type of thoughts, but like the to-do list type of thoughts, where you're just constantly going through the things that you have to do, the things that you should be doing, need to be doing, aren't doing. And then it goes into, why am I not doing that? This other person is doing that. I could be doing that. And so then it gets into the whole comparing yourself to what other people are doing. And it was like, wow, right? So that to me is mental burnout, when it's like you can't stop that running that happens round and round that track, right? There's no way off of the track, right?
At least you can't see your way off.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Because when like you're in that mode, you're just one pointed focus, right? So it's really hard to see that there's any exit.
So when it comes to your establishment, Kane, intentional communication training, you have programs. And so the first thing that I would like to know is, how did you get started with this particular work?
Yeah, so it didn't come about in a way that was, when I was younger, I thought I really want to grow up and help people learn how to express themselves so that they're heard and really be able to become more responsive instead of reactive, right? I came into this very unexpectedly, in that I used to be a horrible communicator. I really lived in burnout, I guess you could say, in the way that I interacted with other people, right? Constantly just judgmental, very passive aggressive, very reactionary, a lot of anxiety, and really like I had a lot of difficulty in silence. I really needed to fill space, and everything was exaggerated state. Like everything was either the best thing in the world or the worst thing in the world, right? There was no kind of in between of anything. And I didn't know that though, right? I thought that was just how really, I thought that was how everybody lived. This was just the way that I communicated, and that was it, right? And my first love and I, we'd been together for about 7.5 years, and we decided to go our separate ways. And knowing that the universe would bring us back together when we were ready, right? Because we had started our relationship when we were 18. We really were growing together, and we wanted to try to see what life would be like to grow on our own and then come back. And we came back 4 years later, and we had like phenomenal discussion about our relationship. And so much of what was hard for us was communication, right? And so we decided to be in each other's lives again. And then 4 months later, he passed away unexpectedly, and my whole world just imploded and exploded, basically. Everything for me changed, and all I wanted was just somebody to come and take away all this struggle and the suffering and the heartache and the sadness, and nobody was able to do it. And it was just this knowing that I had to do this on my own. And so that's kind of what started this whole journey for me to really figure out how to enjoy being here and how to make life easier for myself and those in my life, right? And what just kept coming to me as I was reading and going to seminars or taking courses or retreats was communication. And if I really wanted to change how I was connecting with the world, I was going to have to change the way I interacted with it. And so that then led me to take a lot of different workshops, and I learned about the elements of right speech in Buddhism, which are to tell the truth, don't exaggerate, don't gossip, and use helpful language. And that suddenly to me was like these guidelines that I could follow. And then I started to try to figure out, how do I actually do that in my life, right? How do I start to really practice being kind, honest, and helpful? And that's how this practice of Kane intentional communication was really born. And I started writing about it and teaching around it. And it wasn't just changing my life, but it was changing others' lives as well. In, marriages, family dynamics, within career, work environments, moving out of everything being kind of this big wildfire that needs to be put out all the time right away. Everything is so urgent, moving it into really being able to see clearly of what needs my attention and what doesn't. Relationships started changing. I was able to finally express myself and ask for the things that I needed and wanted. And no longer letting go of all the passive aggressive behavior, because now I actually had a practice of knowing what to do when I could feel that happening. Right. So that's really how I got here.
So when you talk about calmness with others in your interactions, let's talk about some ways that we can translate that into everyday living. So if you have someone who is dealing with burnout and they're having difficulties with irritability and connecting with others and not understanding what's going on with them, how do they practice calm? How do they translate calm into their day-to-day?
Yeah. So much of this practice is really starting with understanding how you react in those types of situations, right? If someone is frustrated with you or you're feeling uncomfortable in some way, what is happening within your body in that moment? Because knowing the sensation in the body, some people, it's like their hands start sweating, their heart starts beating faster. They feel maybe like a tightness in the jaw or a cramping in the stomach. Once you can start to notice that that's actually happening, that becomes your cue to know that you're about to move into potentially getting passive aggressive or lashing out or, shutting down and those types of things. And so it's important to start really paying attention to what's happening within you in those moments. Because the more awareness you bring to it, the more likely then the next time you're able to know, okay, this is what's happening, right? Now I get this opportunity to breathe into this, see if I can, relax what's going on within my body so that then I can show up differently.
So how you describe that really is social anxiety. And so that could be a part of burnout, but it also could be separate. So as you're aware, my psych, medical provider. So I understand that your audience may comprise of any background and any reasons to need calmness in their particular life. Now, you have some training programs centered around your particular company. You want to share with us the programs you have within our last 5 minutes?
Yeah. Wow. How quick the time goes by. So there's the Kane Intentional Communication Training Program, and this is really where we work on changing people's default ways of interacting, right? So you let go of passive aggressive behavior, you let go of lashing out, and you're really able to access yourself in those moments where the emotion rises within you. And instead of giving over to the emotion, you really learn how to move it to the side so you can interact in a way that you really want to, right? So it really teaches you how to speak more consciously, clearly, and concisely, how to have difficult conversations, and really how to be able to express yourself, even though there's that fear potentially of what the reaction could be of the other person, right? So you really learn how to navigate those difficult conversations really easily. So we work with students so that by the end of the training program, their default way of interacting is truly, a kind, honest, and helpful way of connecting. And their relationships completely transform because of the practice. And it's a practice, so it's not something that goes away. We check in with people 4 months after the training program, and there's not one person who's not using it, because there's really, once you learn it, you can't go back to the old way. It's just pretty much impossible. So there's the training program, and then there's also there's the books, How to Communicate Like a Buddhist, Talk to Yourself Like a Buddhist, and How to Meditate Like a Buddhist. And then there's also smaller courses called How to Communicate Like a Buddhist, which is an 8-week audio course that we have. Turn Off the Enemy in Your Mind, which is another 8-week audio course. And we also have a How to Parent Like a Buddhist, which is a 10-day course. So those are really the ways to work with the material. The training program, though, is by far the best way to work directly. Because you work directly with me and my team, where the others you don't. So.
Okay. And so how would someone inquire about your program? Where would they go? Also, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, so on social media, they can find me at CYKane1 on Instagram. And we also have a Facebook group called Like a Buddhist, which is where I go live on Wednesday mornings. We meditate together. I do a live meditation there. And then in terms of, working directly with me and my team, you can go to intentionalcommunicationtrainingapply.com, and you'll get to the application page. Or you can go to cynthiakane.com and you'll find out more there. And we're always open to being emailed. So you can email me directly at cynthia@intentionalcommunicationinstitute.com, and we'll get back to you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being our guest today. As we close out the show, keep in mind that Cynthia helps individuals to communicate in a calm way, help them to deal with all of the underlining aspects of what causes them to not be calm in their communication. So most definitely check her out. In addition to that, every Thursday we do upload a new video to YouTube. If you want to hear the audio portion of this episode, feel free to go to any distribution of podcasts. If you want to see the video, feel free to go to the Chantay Golson Show YouTube channel, where you can check out us speaking in person. And so make sure that you like and subscribe. If anything about this video or this podcast is helpful for you, make sure you share it with those in your life so that they can also benefit. Well, thank you for being here, and I want you to have a pleasant and productive day. Remember, you can overcome burnout with one step intentionally every single day. Make it a great one. Bye for now.